Next on Rated Reflections.
The Disney characters, they usually turn into a villain because they were misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? They were misunderstood. Something happened. They're like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn evil. You know what? Fuck, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. This is. I feel some type of way. I'm hurt. I'm in pain. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I do believe that there are people here that were created to be evil.
Now,
Peace and bliss, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Rated Reflections, the podcast where we review music, film, culture, and identity. And we can't forget the healing of it all, right, Quez? Through
That's
a
right.
grown, yes, honest, and soul centered lens. I am your host, the body positive goddess, your self love coach and healer. I assist women in facing their shadows, honoring their bodies, and stand on business while they transform and heal, okay? Listen, y'all, we are about to get into this, but before we get into it, look at this handsome man right beside me, my co-host, Mr. Raquez. Go ahead and take the mic, bro.
What's up, everybody? I am Raquez. I am a photographer, a lover of all things creative. I'm also the
Yes.
creator of the Shape Campaign. The Shape Campaign is a movement that I created to celebrate beauty inside and out of women and their stories. So I definitely encourage you all to stay tuned. We got a new season coming soon next
Hey,
year,
hey, hey, hey.
2026. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, absolutely, y'all. And together, this is our space to celebrate culture and integrate it, right? Because some stories, y'all, are entertainment, and some stories are just damn right scary and real as fuck.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
All right, y'all. So today on Rated Reflections, we're going to dive into this psychological thriller, and it's called Blink Twice.
Blink
How
twice.
did
And
you?
before and,
Yes.
and before we do that, real quick, so I do, since now we have officially launched Rated Reflections as
Yes.
being a show, I do want to touch bases each episode as to why we named it Rated Reflections for our new
Yeah.
visitors and viewers. So Rated
Absolutely.
Reflections is, we are not only going to be reviewing movies and film, things like that, but also music albums. So the purpose of Rated Reflections is to reflect in how we see ourselves in art, right? So whether it's a song, whether it's an album, whether it's a movie, there are always different elements that we can learn and grow from within the art. Sometimes it can be to show us who we really are. Sometimes it can be for healing. Sometimes it can be for identity. So that's why we call it Rated Reflection. So I just wanted to chime that in just to kind of bring it all together to show how it all ties in.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that quiz. Yeah, so yeah, today we're diving into this psychological thriller, y'all. Blink Twice. This movie came out in 2024 and it is so good. How did you feel about it looking at it for the first time, quiz?
Oh, so this one. Now I'm gonna be honest and say, and y'all might think I'm a little corny for this, but I don't watch a lot of new movies
Okay.
because I oftentimes feel like I have this mentality of that's an hour that I'll never be able to get back if it's
Okay.
not good. Like if it's really good, then I'm like, ooh, got another movie to add to my repertoire. But
Okay.
what I have been doing, I watch my favorites over and over and over and over and over again. So and as an artist, I know it sounds kind of weird to say that because it's like, well, you're a creative, so you should constantly be, you know, consuming new content. But I don't see it that way always, because sometimes I feel like a lot of new films kind of just recycle the same storylines. But with this
Mm-hmm.
one, with Blink Twice, I feel like it was super new. Like I'm like, I haven't seen a film like this before.
Mm-hmm.
So I have thoughts. I have thoughts, but they were mostly favorable. Mostly.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that quiz. That's what's up. But this thriller, y'all, is it's dark, it's unsettling. Um, and it just peels back the layers of power, memory, abuse hidden behind luxury and elite spaces. So this movie isn't just there to entertain you, it's there to awaken you. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh,
it's
I'm
to
awake.
okay, that whole part right there. So um and it helps you to just question what you see and to challenge what you think you do or what you should do in a room when you're even when you're comfortable.
Mhm.
You feel like you're in control. So I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, consider this your spoiler alert, okay? Because we're about to be getting
Mm-hmm.
into all the scenes, the symbolism, and the truth, because some truths that people aren't ready to talk about, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and just before we get into that, quick context, y'all, before we go any further. Zoe Kravitz, she wrote and directed um this dark thriller, and she is not new to these conversations or scenes at all. She grew up around Hollywood, music, royalty, elite spaces, and fame from birth. And she is the daughter of course, my other baby daddy, Lenny Kravitz. And
He looks good. Like I
she
was
did,
looking at him the other. He looks really good.
honey, and her mama. I'm
He's
not
like in his
with him.
70s, 60s, right? I think something like that.
I think 60, something like that. Yeah, maybe
Yeah, he
60.
fine.
I was like, okay, yes. And Lisa, she looks good too. She looks good. She looks
Yeah, she
amazing.
was on the
Good
Cosby
genes
Show,
on
right?
both. Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
yes,
okay. Yeah,
yes.
ironic, right? She was on the
Okay.
Cosby Show,
See,
and yeah. But, okay,
okay.
go ahead. Never
And you
mind.
know what? It would be crazy if this is just this I can this is me just speculating, but it'd be crazy if her mom and her dad was like, "Hey, this is what's going on." You know, what if she was telling her story, without really
Mm-hmm.
telling her story?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
But yeah, but she's seen things that most of us only hear rumors about, Quiz. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah.
So would you like to add anything into that?
Yeah. So I do my research and I like to watch a lot of I'm the creative that likes to know the behind the scenes stuff because I like to
Yeah.
know like why this person created this. And
Yeah.
from what I can tell with I don't know if it's Zoe or Zoe, but
I say
Zoe, I'm gonna call her
Zoe.
Zoe. Zoe Kravitz. So what I have learned about her, because this was my first time actually ever being introduced to her work before, but
Mm.
she co-directed this or co-wrote this
Mhm.
film
Mhm.
and directed it. But I learned that the reason why one of the things she wanted to be able to portray with this film was she didn't want women to be seen as like a victim or and also making them more than just a survivor. They actually it kind of evolves into like women taking their power back. And
Absolutely.
so this film is it's weird because it's so reflective of current events that we have going
Mhm.
on in the world. And so to know that this is not really that much of a, I don't want to call it a fantasy or a far-fetched plot twist or plot, is that's what makes it kind of eerie because it's like
Mhm.
this really happens. I mean, it's just
It
different
happens.
people,
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
That's real, Quiz. That is so real. All right,
And then
y'all.
I do want to, before we do that, I want to go over the cast. So we
Yes,
have,
please.
yeah. So
Yeah.
let me go over our all star. I'm not gonna go over everybody, but just like the
Right,
main
right. The
characters.
main
So
characters.
we have Zoe Kravitz is Swanky,
Mhm.
which is the stewardess. We have Adria Arjona as Sarah. We have
Mhm.
Naomi Aki as
Mhm.
Frida. We have
Mhm.
Aaliyah Shawkat
Mhm.
as Jess. We have Channing Tatum as Slater King. So those are like our
Yeah.
main, and we have a lot of a few other characters, but
Yeah.
those are like the main folks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Quiz. Listen, y'all, we are about to go into our little quick segment. We didn't change the name, y'all. We didn't change the name. We're about to go ahead and reflect in, okay? Quiz, what is
Reflect
reflect
in.
in? I
We ought to
like
do
that.
like some type of like reflect
We
in.
gotta do that. Yes, we do. I agree. What is your energy going into this conversation, Quiz?
This okay. So I watched the film like 2.5 times, and I say two and a half
Mm-hmm.
times because the first time I fell asleep on it. But
Okay.
when today, I've been really reflecting, and there were a lot of things coming up for me in my own personal experiences and life that did not feel good. So, Ashley, you know how you were saying like a couple
Mm,
episodes ago with like the India Ari episode, how there were some things that were coming up for you based
mm,
on, and it's something that maybe you didn't say on the show, but behind the scenes to me. That's how
yeah.
I feel today. Like I felt like there were some really scary things coming up for me, especially around
Mm,
consent
mm,
and what it means to really have consent and in what definition does consent hold up.
Oh
and what
my God.
circumstances. So I think it's important to really like, this is gonna be a more of a serious kind of episode, at least for
Yeah.
my part, because there was a lot of things that were concerning to me, things that even myself that I have experienced and that I know
Yeah.
of that, were very, it mirrored
Yeah.
some things in my own personal life.
Absolutely. I can relate to that too, Raquez. My energy is trust your intuition, even when everything seems perfect. We had this conversation I don't want to say the other week, Quez. Remember, I was like, everything ain't always what it seems.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's always people's intentions aren't always good. It can
Yeah.
be your own mama. You just never know. That's why you always got to make sure your discernment and your intuition, and you got to be on point. You got to make sure you check in with yourself, okay?
Hmm.
Um because that's real.
Hmm.
That's
Yep.
real.
That's real.
Yeah, it's real. Before we break into this film, y'all, let me say this. This is one of those films that you have to watch a couple times because though she had left some hidden clues and messages even in the beginning of the film. When I first saw it, I was oblivious to it. It went over my head. But when I
Hmm.
went back and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, it was right there in our face.
Hmm.
Right there in
I
our face.
second that. I second that.
Yes.
I exactly, especially like I don't want to keep giving. I don't want to give too much away,
No,
but
you
no, there
good.
were some things that were like when
Yes.
the maid was saying Red Rabbit, I was like,
Yes. Oh, wow.
oh, I
Even
get
e
it.
yes, even before, because I know you're about to get into it, and we may be all over the place, y'all, but that's why we say you gotta watch the movie, go watch the movie. But even when okay, we gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna break it down, right? So we're gonna start from where the movie really starts because the first scene is very much so intentional. It tells you
Hmm.
exactly what kind of movie we're about to watch. So the first image is a lizard, right? You when you first watch it, you like, okay, what the hell? This ain't Discovery Channel. Why in the hell this is up here?
Hmm.
But a lizard is a cold-blooded is watching, is
Hmm.
calculated, right?
Hmm.
So then we see the main character, Frida. She's posting like a lizard inspired nail design on on like familiar like TikTok or Instagram or whatnot.
Hmm.
And the detail matters because the movie is already telling us like pay attention to the symbolism. Okay. So
Hmm.
she's scrolling like she's on Instagram and she sees Slater King, and that's the billionaire. And what is he
Hmm.
doing? He is apologizing. He's
Hmm.
exposed for abuse of power and his disgusting behavior. Okay.
Hmm.
So it's serious to the point where he has to step down from his company and then he hands King Tech. I'm sorry, he hands King Tech. Yeah, that's his business, right? King Tech over to
Hmm.
the CFO as the CEO while he takes a leave of absence. And I feel like we should pause a little bit because I feel like that's a power move. Because I feel like when powerful men get caught, some of them disappear and then some of them rebrand. Like,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
you
we've
know what I'm
seen that a
saying?
lot.
Yeah, we seen it a
It's
lot.
a little hard because I don't want to be disparaging because I don't know all of the. I'm not trying to cross over into the YouTube news kind of space where it's like you're talking
Right.
about allegedly this person, but I think if you don't have to look far to be able to see how there are certain parallels where people would go and travel over to Bali and now they live in Bali uh, all of a sudden and they're not in the country anymore, or even all of
Right.
these different things that we hear, like even with like the Diddy stuff and the R. Kelly
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. You have
Yes.
it's like a system of people
Yes.
working. So, like you said, he passed his company over to his CFO,
Yes.
but he passed it over because he knew that person would probably still be,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? So he got to make sure his hands look clean, but
Yes.
they're all working
He
together.
working in the
So it's not
background.
like he's a better
Yes.
person. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
this film really
Mhm.
highlights how power and capitalism and all of those things, who's at the top, and they
Mhm.
prey on the people at the bottom, and it's
Yep.
like this insidious cycle.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, y'all, in this interview that she's watching, Slater talks about accountability, right? Healing, growth. He says he kind of bought an island, a private, secluded
Hmm.
island, framing it as almost like holistic or spiritual, if you will. But the movie is already giving us clues. You know what I'm saying? So, um, Quest, like, do you think that Slater's apology was ever meant for accountability, or was it really a test to see how easily people forgive power when it looks humble? Because I know you were just saying something
Yeah,
similar.
no, I don't think it was
Yeah.
genuine at
Mhm.
all. And it's interesting because so my initial thought during this
Mhm.
scene, because and by the way, Frida, she is a cocktail server, and
Mhm.
she has a nail tech. I don't know if it's like an official business, but she does nails on the side. Like she does like
Right.
very artistic, a lot of animal inspired nails. So actually, she was getting the inspiration about the lizard on the social media site that she was scrolling. But
Right.
one of the things that I peeped early on with I'm about to call him Channing, with was it Slater King? Yeah, Slater King.
Yeah.
He's very handsome, very
Yeah,
charismatic,
very
very alluring, all of those things.
yes.
So it instantly, that apology made me think of the Diddy apology that he did.
Oh,
And actually, he looked like
yeah.
he was in like on an island or something, or like some type of hut or something. And so
Yeah.
it was like you could hold them both side by side. One is fiction, one is real. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, other than it's just, two different ethnicities, obviously, but it's still the same game.
It's
And
the same
so for
game.
me, when I heard the apology, he says all the stuff that you're supposed to say. I take accountability. I was
Yeah.
wrong. I've been in therapy. And what
Yeah.
I really didn't like that the interviewer said, she was like, "Yeah, it sounds like you have changed," because he said he owns chickens. I'm like, oh, he
He
sounds
did
like
say
he
he got
changed
2
because
children.
he owns
Yeah,
chickens. Okay,
chickens.
wow,
Yeah.
okay, lady. But yeah, so
That part. It was that part for me too. But do you think that we are like we as a people are just so quick to accept public remorse from powerful people because of the money or the image that they've created? Because people be liking people all because of the money, or he's Jay-Z or she's Beyonce, so that's my girl. I know she ain't gonna do. You don't know these people for real.
well,
You
it's
don't know
definitely
these
about the
people.
parasocial relationships always are going to always be like the thing that draws people in. They feel like they know the person because of
Yes,
how they present themselves, the image. Like you
right,
think you know someone, you spend time watching them. They've been in your home. They've helped you get through hard
right.
times based on their art or their work, whatever they do. So
Yes,
you feel like they have really invested in you and your
yes,
well-being, but not really. It's just like an illusion. And so that kind of goes into what this film is going to be talking about. It's like you're selling an image. And so no, I don't believe, to answer your question, no, I don't believe that it's genuine. I don't feel like it's sincere. They're going to say what they're supposed to. They wouldn't even
mhm,
put that on the news if it was something that was less than perfect, or
yeah,
or what looks beautiful. It's like it's a veneer. So
yeah.
it's just to make it
Ooh,
look,
not
polished. And so
veneer.
yeah.
Oh,
So
look
but if
at
you
you.
take it off, you'll see
Yes.
that it's all rotted underneath,
You
and
okay? Look at
a whole bunch of stuff ain't
you.
going on,
I like
so
that quiz. He said
yeah.
veneer. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah. So like we also get into the scene where Frida and Jess are working. You like you mentioned before, they're working class women, they're servers, they're living regular lives,
Hmm.
without wealth or protection. But the
Hmm.
film just shows you right off the bat that they're not living like a reckless life. They're living
Hmm.
their life, but they're not out here, thrown in a
and
circle.
Jess and Jess is so Jess is Frida's best friend and roommate, and they work
Oh, yeah,
together.
my
So
bad, my
she's
apologies,
a
y'all. Let
best
me move on
friend, the
back.
roommate, and the
Yes,
coworker. So
yes.
that's, yeah, okay, continue.
Yeah, you good. So, yeah, they're just normal women, living day by day, and, yeah, so I'm glad they put that in the movie so we kinda see. But what got me, Quest, is when they were in, I guess, the back room, they were putting boxes on top of each other, and Frida was like, "Hey," basically, not verbatim, but "Hey, you went out last night." You know what I'm saying? "Where did you go?"
Yes,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? And then Jess was like, girl, like I went to go see my boo, that the old boo. Apparently it was an ex, and
Hmm.
Frida's like, why are you going back to your ex? Why are you doing that? But she made a comment And watching it, I was like, oh my God, like maybe she needed that for herself. You know what I'm saying? What did she
She
say?
said that she it's like she was kind of she got really upset with her,
She
but she was
did.
like, have some self-respect.
Self-respect. Exactly.
And Jess gave her a look like, oh, is that how you really feel about me?
That's how
And
you
then,
feel.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, like maybe she needed to hear that for herself too. You know, this
But I will
is
say about Frida, she really irritated me at the beginning of this
oh,
film.
okay.
When I
Okay.
first watched this movie, I really was pissed off with her.
Oh, why
Like,
is
cause she
that?
was just doing all kind of dumb stuff. Like, she was tripping over stuff, falling,
Stop.
very naive, and just like even like the
What?
east west. Like she
Child, we
was
gotta
getting on
walk
my
in heels. We
nerves.
gotta learn how
Like
to walk in
she
heels.
was so like textbook gullible and green.
Oh my
Like at
God.
least so that's the only like that's like one of the maybe the
Don't give me
flaws that I have
shade.
about the writing of
Uh-huh.
this is because I felt like she was too naive. Like she didn't put up any type of defense. Like you were just waiting to be got.
But it's a lot of girls who are green and they do that. They do that.
Yes, but I will also say she didn't even have any type of skepticism. And that's
Yeah.
what concerned me because it's like, so it makes me, we don't really get much of a backstory about, we get glimpses based on what she's saying about her
Mhm.
past with her. She said that her mom was in an abusive relationship, I believe, or something like that. But we don't really understand like the dynamics of her childhood as to why she was so green. So you would think if she
Mm.
came from a traumatic past like that, she wouldn't be super trusting. But then maybe not. Maybe she would be more trusting because like the superhero, even the way that the film, like when she first saw when she first saw Slater King in the when she fell and he helped her up, it was like this light
Yeah.
behind him, like glowing, like you know what I'm saying? So it's like the savior has arrived.
The savior has
For
arrived.
me, she was irritating at first, but she redeemed herself later. But
Yes.
yeah, at first I wasn't really feeling her like that.
But do you feel like women have to be broken to be targeted though?
No, but it's easier.
It is
It's
easier.
definitely a lot easier. I think that's with anybody, but it's specifically with women. Yes, I do think it's a lot easier when you don't have a strong male figure or man figure in your life. It doesn't have to be a father. It could be an uncle, a brother, a best friend. It could be, a coworker, so a mentor. So I think it's really easy for you to become to get got. But I don't think it's impossible for other women that may have that stronger wall up. I think it might take a little bit of
A little
time
bit more
to chip away at the outer
grooming.
exterior.
A
Yeah.
little more grooming. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I do feel like she, like you said, she was a bit easy to kind of get because
Yeah.
she was already watching him, on
Hmm.
social media. So it was like, he cute, he's charming. So I see that. But like you were saying, with Frida and Jess, they were basically just going into Slater's gala. It was a gala. Gala. Was a
It
gala.
was a gala. So yeah, just for
Gala.
context for people that are following along with us.
Yeah.
So like we said, Jess and Frida, they are cocktail servers.
They
So
got
they
the
were
cup.
actually serving a event and a gala that Slater King company, King Tech, I think it
Yes.
was called. They
Yes.
were hosting the event for them. So they were serving them and things like that. So that's how they crossed paths with Slater King. But I am curious to know, did she know prior that they were going to be crossing paths? Or was that
Again.
something that, well, not again, well, I know what you're saying again, but
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
very first time, I wonder if she knew she was going to meet him because she had saw him from afar on social media, but I didn't know if she was
I
surprised that he was there.
Y'all correct me in the comments, but I do believe she knew that because they were working for the event. And so that's why
Okay.
they brought the extra clothes because they
Mm.
change clothes.
Oh, so they were
Yes,
prepared. So
so
she
they
knew what
were
was up.
prepared.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because I do
Okay.
believe, we just making shit up, but I believe they did this last year because remember the manager was like, "Hey, remember last year you was a bit chatty,
True, true, true. And then they
And
said, remember to smile.
she's
Don't forget
like,
to smile.
"Okay,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
talk to
Gotcha.
me,
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, so anywho, Frida and Jess, they are definitely plotting. They go and they change clothes, they got their dresses on, and they're walking like Quay says, they're trying to be sneaky, on the left or right, because Frida, she for some reason she just could not walk in the heels, girl. She was slipping and falling. She finally bust her ass, right? And that's when Slater King, he sees her because she made a whole scene. She made a whole scene,
That's
she
one of those moments where you just be like, look to your left and
girl,
right, just like somebody help her, cause she ain't just help her, just
she
help her
break
right out the door.
right, she breaking glasses and she breaking her ass. So it's
Yeah.
like, she runs into him. Of course, like Quez mentioned, that Slater is very charming. Her nose is wide the fuck open. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so then, he introduces her to his people. Ew, I'm spitting y'all on the mic and shit. He introduces her to his people, and she invites both Jess and Frida to his private island. And then we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go into that. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, this is grooming. Okay. This is grooming. The power imbalance is already set. He already was planning stuff, even before that. But do you want to go ahead and get into
And I feel like I do want to say this too, because it happens. This movie kind of moves really quickly. I didn't look at the runtime. I guess I have to go back and look at the runtime of it. Let me see.
Yeah,
The
like
runtime of this film, hour and 42 minutes. So it seemed to move so much quicker. I guess because this part kind of gets through a lot of things. But yeah, like you were saying, at the event she falls. He helps her up. He introduces him. He introduces her to all of his cadre or whatever you want to call it, and everyone's smiling and just looking really super weird.
Yeah,
And
like
so it gets to the point where he does that whole fake, "Oh, I gotta go to my island." Then he comes back and like, "Do y'all want to come?" And then it's like, okay, so now we are in the next scene where not only is it Frida and Jess, but now there are three other women that are, and for the sake of not confusing everybody, we'll just say three other women. But they have their own. One of them she's a reality. She was on a Survivor reality show. There was one that was I believe she was like a lawyer or attorney or something like that. And then the other one, what was the other one? She she did something revolving. Let me see. I had it here. Either way, she had her own type of career too.
She was like
So
she did something with the app, something with her. Yeah, she did something
like a developer of some sort.
Yeah.
So now these five women, they go to the island with this man that they just met. That we later discovered they didn't really know him, because at first I thought that they knew him already.
Because if you didn't tell, you would thought, okay, that's his people. Because I did say that's his people. That's what you would think. That's what you would think.
Yeah. So they get to the island, and then this is where things get interesting, because they have like this, I don't know if you want to call it like a resort or it wasn't a hotel, it's like more like a hut resort kind of place, like buildings where they're like, I just call it a resort. Basically, so he shows Frida where she's going to be staying and her suite. And so there are already, she gets in the shower, she showers and stuff, but she looks and there's clothes laid out for her, like a white, like sundress and a cat. And she opens a drawer and there's an old tube of lip gloss. And this is a key, like you were saying, Ashley, things that were put out in front of us that we kind of later, and the story kind of tells itself and it circles back.
Yeah.
And so from there, she encounters the maid, and the maid is, so I didn't know so this is what kind of confused me a little bit, because I didn't know if the maid was like really, if she really knew her. Later we will find out more about that, or if she was kind of like senile,
weird
or
as
like
hell.
So I was like, okay. And so that's how she was. Frida was like, okay, and the lady just kept saying red rabbit,
red rabbit.
She kept saying that. It's gonna come up a lot here in this film. And then go ahead and take over the rest.
So we go into the white dinner.
Mhm.
The white dinner. To me, this is like the setup. But what stood out to me is that everyone is wearing white, sitting at this long ass table, right? They clean, pure. To me, it gave a ceremonial, ritualistic. I would say to me, that's what it looked like to me. It kind
Mhm.
of remind me of Jesus and the 12 disciples. Not in a
Ooh.
literal, not in a literal sense,
Okay.
but like a gathering before the betrayal. That's how I see. It. I said
That's a
something
great
seems
reference. I didn't think
weird.
about that.
Yes, because when I kept
Wow.
looking, I was like, this seems a little. You know what I'm saying? That's why you gotta watch
Interesting.
movies more than once or twice
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you be able to see stuff, right?
Mhm.
So they were bonding. Frida is overworking to please Slater. Like, she just doing her, hey babe, do you want some beef? He kindly declines because he don't eat beef or whatever. But while she is trying to, I guess she would say service him or what, not service him, but what's the word I'm looking for, class? She was going to give him some beef.
Well, I think she was trying to, appease him, but I
She was
think
trying to
also
please.
she really didn't have to work hard. This is part of the insidious part of the grooming that I feel like is
Mhm.
because they want you to almost feel like you need their approval or
Yes,
validation, and
yes,
so the first they plant the seed and they say
yes,
if you're going to take the bait, and then you
yes.
take it. Now they got you in wrapped around their hands.
That's
So it's
true.
like, okay, so let me act like I'm not interested. It's kind of like that cat and
Mm,
mouse kind of game.
I see what you're saying.
So you work harder for that validation. And once you get that validation, then it becomes addictive. And so
Mhm.
you are now hooked. And now this is where the manipulation can occur because, and I'm not like a psychologist or anything, but I just think it's been done enough to be able to really understand the pattern. And so
Yes.
you start to see, and the other thing that I don't want to skip over is one of the other ladies, and I believe her name was Sarah.
Mhm.
One of the other five ladies that were
Mhm.
that well is Frida, Jess, and then the other three. So one of the three, I think her name is
Camille,
Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was, even though she was, it's kind of weird because she kind of had a beef with
She
Frida a little
did.
bit. Like she was kind of hating on her because
She was.
because
Mhm.
Slater King was giving Frida more of his
Yes.
attention than her. And so you kind of see her being looking like she's tight with her a lot of times, like
Mhm.
she's upset. And you kind of see that animosity. But yeah, but
Yes.
back to what you were saying, she wanted to appease him,
Yes.
basically. Yeah.
Basically. And so she ended up getting sauce on her dress, y'all. I know that may not seem like it's a lot, but she got sauce on her dress. And
Hmm.
so then, they're talking, and then there was one of the guys that was there who was like, okay, now it's time to bring out the real dessert. So they bring out a psychedelic or a mind stimulant, right? And so I feel
And for
like
people that don't know what that is, can you expound upon what that is, what that means?
Google it. I'm gonna say Google it. Um, it was a drug,
Hmm.
basically. It was a drug.
Hmm.
But they did, however, in the movie, they actually told you what drug it was.
Hmm.
If you go
Hmm.
back, you'll see it. You can just Google it
Hmm.
and you'll know.
Hmm.
But this dinner to me it wasn't about the food, it was just like normalizing what was coming next. So okay, so Quez, when you saw the dinner, did it like I was saying earlier, did it feel like ceremonious to you or like a setup? Did you look at it that way?
Not the first time, because remember I
Not
had
the
to
first
watch it
time?
twice. So the second time I watched it, I did see how they were very methodical with what they were doing.
Yeah,
There
they
was a,
were.
it was very intentional each time. And
Mhm.
so what I did notice, it's just, it's like now, even looking back, even if I were to watch it a fourth time or
Mhm.
third time, I would still see more that I didn't see, like you were saying, because even all of his people, so like he was, so let me also, we need to kind of highlight who his entourage were. So you have a photographer, you have a
Mhm.
chef, you
Therapist.
have a therapist, you
Yes.
have help me out. I'm missing someone. There's like four different men.
It was like this military guy there. He was like the security guy guard.
Security, yes, the
Yeah,
security guard.
uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so each of them played a role as well. So they were the ones that were like his wingmen
Mm-hmm.
to kind of help support the system. So Slater King is the top dog, but they
Mm-hmm.
kind of were his hunchmen that were working
Mm-hmm.
to in coalition with him. And so, yes, to answer your question, there was it did seem like it was like an initiation kind of thing of
Yeah.
where this is like, and I still don't understand why Jess kept losing her lighter. I don't understand
Yeah,
what that
that
was
was
about.
hilarious to me. And which I'm glad, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it was kind of like, girl, if you don't put that damn lighter up, because
Yeah.
okay, I don't know if we have any smokers in the audience, but y'all know being some people who are smokers, y'all, some people they know to bring their own lighter because your lighters can get mixing. You know, when people smoke, people like to take it, like to pocket it, they like to steal it
Hmm.
or whatever. So it seemed like she was the only one with a lighter, and they were doing a lot of smoking. They were doing a lot
Hmm.
of smoking. So yeah,
But I think they use that as a.
it
I
was
think
definitely
Zoe
symbolic.
used it as a reference to be able to the symbol
Definitely,
to
yeah,
show what is going on. Like, why are they for? Why is she kind of going with the whole memory lapse thing? I think that's
yeah.
kind of like how it ties into it.
Absolutely, and while we're talking about the memory lapse, I was gonna go right into it. So of course, y'all, they're indulgent. They're just having a good old time, living their best life. But Frida, she wakes up with some blackouts and change clothes. I'll say that, and dirty. She got some dirt under her nails, kind of like lost time, and she can't remember anything. So her best friend Jess, she gets bitten by a snake. Okay. Slater kills it. Jess energy shifts. She get nosebleed, flashbacks of things that happen.
Hmm.
And to me, that was her awakening. That was
Okay,
basically.
so before we go too deep into
Yeah.
that part, let's kind of circle
Hmm.
back a little bit with because I feel like you were saying, Frida. Remember how Ashley, you were saying that Frida had gotten she stained her dress. So I don't know if it was like a sauce or something she
Yes,
spilled
it
on
was a
her
sauce.
dress at
Hmm.
the first dinner. Well, what happens every night after dinner, I guess it's their dessert time, whatever. They go through this process of like they bring out the drugs. And
Hmm.
so you get this shot of Frida, opening her mouth to have Slater King give her the drug or whatever.
Hmm.
And so then everyone starts running around crazily. They're all like stoned out,
Yeah.
laying in the grass. It
Running
looks like it's a
around.
good time. It looks fun, but
Yeah.
you really don't understand what's happening at first. And so she wakes up in bed and she blacked out, but she wakes up in her bed with a fresh dress on.
Yeah.
And that to me is when her light bulb kicked in. Even though she was under the hallucinogens, I feel like that's when her light bulb kind of like went off a little. At least it blinked a little bit because she was able to say, "Hold on, something's that."
I
Like
know
you were
I
saying,
didn't change it. Yeah.
don't
Yep.
don't. That is your safety net. And for
Yep.
some
It
people,
is.
if you are religious or a Christian, you call it the Holy Spirit, you call it
Mhm.
spirit, you call it guide, source, whatever you call it your gut, you call it
Mhm.
your what other terms do they
That's
call
about
it?
it. We know what
You
you're
know,
talking
your
about.
inner spirit, your guardian
Yeah.
angel. But
Mhm.
whatever, that's you need to learn to listen to that
Yeah.
because that's gonna give you that inclination. Even if you're wrong, still listen to it.
Yeah. Even
Even
if
if
you
you're wrong.
yeah, even if you're
Even if
wrong.
you're
Even
wrong.
if you're
Yeah.
wrong.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, but she that's when that eyebrow kind of raised and like, and
Yeah.
even it was enough for Jess to ask her what was wrong, and she said nothing
Yeah.
hesitantly.
She just thought she was tripping. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
girl, I
And
was probably
so
high. Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
And so it goes on and on. I think maybe we had one more scene with that happening, but that second time or third time, that's when Jess gets bit by the snake. And so
Right.
there was a thing earlier on in the film that Slater King does let Frida know that they have a pest problem with these vipers. And so we see the same woman that was the maid that was in the room with
Mhm.
Frida. We see her out in I guess, the yard or the field, and she's collecting the snakes and
Yeah.
killing them and putting them in like a bag. And so that's how that comes about. And so yes, the viper, we see them quite often actually
Mhm.
throughout the film. And so the viper bites Jess, and then you can continue from there.
Yes, and so that's when she get her, nosebleeds and well, Jess, excuse me, Jess, she experienced nosebleeds and her energy changed because just is no
I do want
longer.
to ask about that. The nosebleed, is
Yeah.
that was that because I noticed she got it first. At first, I thought she was going kind of crazy, like
Mm-hmm.
like that. Have you ever seen that movie Smile, where like there was?
Yes.
I thought
Yes.
that's what was happening to her at first, or
Uh-huh.
like, is she going like gonna hurt herself? But is that like something to show that they're purging out the, or like is?
That's
Do
how
you
I
think
took
that's what
it.
that?
That's
Yeah.
how I took it because all of them went through it.
Mm-hmm.
All of them went
Mm-hmm.
through it, and it was like a symptom of being waking up from the spell they were under,
Mm-hmm.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was
Mm-hmm.
a drug. But yeah, so
Yeah.
all of them
Okay.
experienced that. Yeah. But to me, that was just like of I guess you would say just a her, like keep saying, like it was like her awakening. And
Mm-hmm.
so in Quest, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'll be moving a little too fast. But after that, again, just energy shifts. She's like, yo, I just have a weird feeling, like I feel like something is about to happen. Something doesn't feel
Yeah.
right.
So when she gets bit by the snake, it's
Mm-hmm.
weird because she realizes how serious it is. So Slater
Yeah.
does tell her, the snakes are venomous, but you won't die.
Yeah, you won't
And
die.
so
She's like, we need to go to the
she's like,
hospital.
well, shouldn't I go to the hospital? And,
Yeah.
and no one's really saying, they didn't even have a medic on site,
No, they
which is
didn't.
weird. And
No.
so, she's concerned for her safety. And so that's when she pulls her best friend aside,
Mhm.
Frida, and she's like, something's really up here. Like,
Yeah.
don't you feel like this is weird? Everyone's smiling and there's nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so Frida, this is where she tries to, I would say this is where she kind of wanted to, I don't want to say I don't know if gaslight would be the right word to use, but she wanted to definitely make Jess feel like, don't do this right now. Like, don't steal my little bit of happiness that I
She
found.
Yes, she was definitely being selfish in the moment. She wasn't thinking clearly, you know what I'm saying? Even though she did have an inkling that something was a little off by her
Hmm.
waking up with a clean, fresh dress.
Hmm.
But she was, like I said, Slater had her nose wide open. I think that
Hmm.
was like her main. I think that was just she wanted to enjoy that. She was
Hmm.
happy, and
Hmm.
she said she wanted a vacation. So she felt
Yeah.
like this was like, oh, this is my dream. Like I can't
Yeah.
believe this is happening. And her friend is like, bitch, you
Hmm.
not are you really are you listening to what I'm
Hmm.
telling you? I don't
Hmm.
think you're really getting it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I did find interesting about this dynamic, this friendship, was that, so you have Slater King, he's a white man,
Mhm.
but you have Jess is a white woman, and
Mhm.
Frida is black.
Yeah.
And so what I find interesting about that dynamic is that it's usually the opposite around. Like, the black woman's the one that's not believed at first. She's usually the
Mm.
one that's le- more so having to convince everyone else that something's wrong. And one of the things about this film too, as we'll go on to talk about, is it reminded me of like the Jim Jones stuff, like with the Kool-Aid and all that. Is that the right the
Oh,
cult, like
I
the
know what
religious cults and stuff? It
yeah.
reminded me of that, and so
Yes.
all of that kind of
The occult, yeah.
ties
Mhm.
into it as well. So that's what I found very, very eerie.
This shit's scary. Um, okay. Anyway, so we're gonna go into, and like I said, we may be all over the place in quiz because I'll be jumping.
Hmm.
This is when we get into Jess disappears, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jess, she disappears. No one remembers her, which is the weirdest shit. Cause you're like, girl, clearly y'all was playing with each other, talking, kikiing or
Hmm.
whatever. And then Frida, she keeps seeing and hearing Jess lighter. She was like, yo, something, what? And then she remembers, like, oh my God, where is Jess? Where is Jess? And what I want to talk about too, between, well, the lighter, the
Hmm.
maid, and the medicine, well, the venom, right? So
Hmm.
it'd be like the small details that don't feel important, that is very much so important. But just lighter, like you said, Quez, it keeps showing up. I feel like it was more of a memory anchor for them. And
Hmm.
the season made
Oh, that's
she
good.
mhm,
That's really
mhm.
good.
And she remembers Frida from the previous year. That's why she was like, red rabbits. Like, girl,
Mhm.
I remember you. She touched her face like, I remember you.
Mhm.
Even remember when she was outside and she was like about to walk to meet with her best friend or whatever, the girls, but it was like the maid men, they were walking and the men were just staring at her like, hey,
Yeah.
she's like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
you looking at? I was
Yeah.
like, you look at people like that when you remember them, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So he remembered her. So again, Just Lighter keeps showing up, the woman, and she remembers her, and that's proof that the cycle has happened before. So like the snake, the venom becomes the medicine that breaks the spell, and the lighter is the memory, and the maid is the witness, and she was trying to break that shit up. The venom
So
was the awakening. The maid was trying to wake that, she was trying to break that shit up. Yes.
I'm glad you pointed all those three things out. So we have the lighter, we have the
The
maid, and
lighter,
we have the snake
snake,
venom.
and the medicine. Yes.
And
Yes.
so the way I interpreted all of this, because at first you almost like this one of those films you have to watch 2 or 3
You
times
have to.
because you're
You
not
will
going to
miss it.
capture
You're
it
not
all
gonna
because
get it.
you're just not. But what
Yes.
I will say is I each one of these, like you said, the lighter was the memory anchor
Mhm.
because of the name that was written on it. That's how
Yes.
Sarah knew who Frida was talking about. Because remember when they were saying, oh, who's Jess?
And they're like,
And so Sarah, that was the only way that she knew that she
yes.
wasn't completely
She wasn't
off
tripping.
because she
Yes.
saw the name on the lighter. But I also see the snake as being interesting because the snake was in typical fashion, the biblical sense, the snake is represented as evil, right? But here, the snake was the anecdote
Saving
to
grace.
break the
It was
curse,
great.
the
It was
spell, the whatever, the
exactly.
trance that they were in. And then the
Exactly.
maid represented like a guardian angel. It's what
She
I
was a
put in my
saving
notes.
grace.
She was
Yes.
just because she was the one. Because at first I thought she was maybe kind of evil.
Of
Like,
course.
there's a
Mhm.
movie. I don't know if it's one of the Nun movies, but it's a movie where it's like this like there's a demon. I don't know, but basically, I thought she was like possessed or something. Like at first, because she kept saying
Mm.
red rabbit, so I was thinking she was like a possessed person or something, or a spirit at first. That's what I was thinking.
I think she was doing that to help her remember.
Okay.
I really believe she was trying to do it like red rabbit, red. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to remember that this is,
Mm-hmm.
and you can
Mm-hmm.
tell, and not being, and this is no disrespect to any of my brown sisters and brothers, like or anything like that, but I believe they hired the Hispanics because they didn't speak much English. So
Oh,
they couldn't
the language
tell what
barrier.
the
Yeah.
language barrier. So they couldn't
Uh-huh.
really tell them like, hey y'all need to get the fuck up out of here because they got y'all
Yeah.
motherfucking asses. It's some shit going on. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was her way of communicating to Frida like, hey, red rabbit, bitch.
Mm.
Red
And
rabbit.
the other thing too with that
Mhm.
is the look that the maid gave her the very first time she encountered her and she realized she didn't remember. It
And
was
she
like,
realized that's why she was feeling
whoa.
like shit.
She turned around like,
Yeah.
ooh, never mind. Let me get out of here. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but you know what? I
Yes.
wonder why, where did they go? Like once when all of this was happening, where did the maid and the landscaping people, where did they go? Because I'm sure they knew what was going on.
I guess they was just doing their runs because they still had to get paid. They still had to feed their family. I mean, I guess they had to clean up. They probably had they
At night though, but on the island,
well
they
at
can't really
night
go
is
too
a good
far.
question. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm.
Interesting.
Do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you think it's possible that the movie was just critiquing not just like the male predators, but how society likes to romanticize access to power, even when the cost is their own dignity? I think so because I do. I'm saying I because when it comes to like money and wealth, luxury, I do feel like some people's common sense just go out the window, and it's all about being look, I know this man. He said he don't even know. I'm not even gonna say you know him. It's the fact that hey, this man, he's famous, he's rich, and he wants me to come out. Like I do feel like people do things.
I think there's a phrase, and I might be misquoting it, but what you are seduced by, you'll be seduced with.
Ooh,
And
ooh, man,
so
I should
I
slap.
feel like only, and not to victim blame or anything, because I don't think that that's necessary. But
Yeah,
I will say the predators know their prey by
they
what
do.
they know how to allure, what to use as an alluring mechanism. So with Frida, given her circumstances, she was an easy target. You
She
asked me
was.
earlier, was she easy? I think she
Mhm.
was, but not always. It could be other things too that people can. So I think like for some people, if you're not into that kind of stuff, if that's not your cup of tea, you wouldn't be a victim or a target for
Mhm.
them to, unless they use something that you know that you are attracted to. And
Yeah,
so, but like you were saying, yeah, I do think that closeness, that proximity to power, definitely was something that Frida was admiring. It was. And
yeah.
so it's interesting because she went from being a server to being served.
Did you just drop the mic?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. She went from being the server to being served. And I think that's what
yeah,
we all aspire to be at some point. If you come from a working class background, you
yeah.
aspire to have a better life for yourself. Now, some people they're okay with just a comfortable life, just simple
Mhm.
stuff, but some that do dream of that grandeur. And everyone
Yeah.
can't be at the top. There's
No.
not enough space.
And they were already struggling because remember in the beginning when she was in the bathroom and she pulled out some money that she was saving
Hmm.
and she was
Hmm.
just like, "Ugh, I need a vacation. Like I'm tired." You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I feel like
Hmm.
she felt like she hit the jackpot. I do feel like that's how
And
she
that's an
felt.
interesting callback that you just mentioned that because that's where the knife
Mhm.
fell from as well.
That's
When
the
she,
night.
yeah, hmm,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we get to so Jess is
Yeah.
now gone. We don't know where Jess is. There's no recollection of where Jess is.
Mhm.
I don't even think Slater King ever talks about her after that.
No, hell no,
And
no.
so
Mm.
then we get to the point where now Frida is kind of on her, not fully alert, but she's starting to wake up.
Mhm.
And so she stumbles across one of the red bags that was
Mhm.
given that was, I don't know, was it given to her at the beginning or she saw
All
it
of
in
them had
the,
it.
all of them had
Oh,
like a
it
red
was
bag.
yeah, it was, like, in their rooms, I think.
It was in
Yeah.
the rooms, like one of those red gift bags you get from like
Yes.
Bath and Body or somewhere. And
Mhm.
so she goes into this little, like, I call it a hut. I call everything a hut, but a
Yeah.
little hut. And so she goes in there and she sees there are other red bags and they have the same perfume that was on her bathroom counter. And so
Mhm.
this we've now soon learned that this is the hallucinogen that is being introduced to them.
Mhm.
Hallucinogen, however you say it. But this
Mhm.
is the what is really putting them in that trance state. It's kind of helping keep them in that sense of like, I don't know, what would you call it? Euphoria of where they are
Yeah.
not in a
Yeah.
real world. And
Mhm.
so, but she walks in on the maid who is draining one of the vipers venom.
Yep.
And it's like a bright, light, translucent green color in a like a liquor bottle. And so she
Yep.
offers it to Frida. And Frida, this is also pissing me off with her. 'Cause I'm like, why are you just taking stuff that somebody
I
giving you? You
was
could have been
thinking the
cleaning
same thing.
solution. It could have been Fabuloso. It could have been anything.
It
And
could've
she
been
just, oh
pee.
yeah, okay. Could have been pee. And so she drinks it, and then it has a strong, potent taste to it. I can only
Yeah.
imagine what it tastes like. And so
Yeah.
that's when the legs are ready rabbit, ready rabbit. And so she gets like
Yeah.
really like, that's when I thought she was possessed. I was like, okay, what's going on? Okay.
First time me
But
watching,
anyway,
I thought the same thing. "What's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
happening?"
And
Yeah.
so Frida storms out. She's like terrified. And then she runs into one of the other entourage members from Slater's camp. And they're like, what were you doing over here?
Yeah, like, "Why are you here?" I
So,
got
and
lost.
And then she had to kind of lie and say she got lost.
Yeah, yep.
And so this is where her awakening happens.
Mm-hmm.
And she
Mm-hmm.
wakes up with nose bleeding,
Mm-hmm.
and now she is conscious.
Yeah, basically. Um, and so then Sarah, she comes knocking on the door, on Frida's door, and she's like, she shows Frida the lighter, like, bitch, was this what you was talking about, basically? So they're comparing notes. Sarah shows the bruises, that she can explain on her
Mhm,
body.
mhm.
And then they're searching the red bags. They go to the hut looking in the red bags, and then they find that perfume. What was the name of that perfume? Was it like Desideria or something like that? It was
Yeah,
something.
your guess is good. I don't remember.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. But anyway,
they said forgetting is a gift.
that's
So
what they say. That's what they
yeah,
say. That's what they
yeah.
say. And
Hmm.
so they find out, like, damn, they put the drug in the perfume, you know. And so then once they find that out, they're kind of like, okay, they mix the venom. I'm sorry, let me go back. Let me go back, because you did bring up the fact that she did taste the she drank the venom mixed with the alcohol. And so then she took some, right? She took some with her. And then did
I don't remember
I
how
don't
she
remember how
got
that
the
happened.
venom, but she
Yeah.
did end up giving it to Sarah.
Yeah, she gave it to Sarah because she was like, yeah, the venom is in the alcohol,
Hmm.
and this is, I
Hmm.
think this is what's waking us up.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, the women, they go, they have to blend in with the rest of the crew because they're awake, and they cannot by all means show anybody that they know more than what they know,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
I want to ask you this,
Yeah.
Quest. Do you think that control works best when it's invisible? Like, do you think it's just best when people don't know or they don't see it, or it can just be in your face?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I think that's when it works best. Like when you don't realize you're being controlled, because if you know you're being controlled, you know how to revolt against the control. But a lot of times it's an illusion of freedom. Like we have
I
an
think I was just about to
illusion.
bring it up. I was about to say, because some people, they can see it and they still
Mhm.
choose to be a part of the matrix. They still can choose to be a part of the system. I'll say that. Or the situation at hand. I'll say that. Yeah.
I feel like in those cases it has to serve them though. They have to have some
I
type of reason to do
see.
that. Like
Yeah.
you
Like
need to go to work to make
money. You need
money, so
money. Exactly.
you're a willing participant in the
Hmm.
matrix. So you realize you're in it,
You're
but you
aware.
don't
Yeah.
know how to get yourself out of it. So, but
Yeah.
then there are some cases where people they don't need to do that, and they still, unless they can see it,
That's true.
they you know what I'm saying, they know how to navigate or avoid it. So I think it just depends on the person. I think that's what makes it so complex, because I feel like they keep finding new ways to get creative about control.
Yes. I do feel that. I feel that wholeheartedly.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And even one of the things that was very, 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 very critical to state at first, Slater King said, forgetting is a gift. So he went through this conversation with Frida
Hmm.
during one of their, like, heart to heart times, where he was talking about how his therapist had used like a forgetting kind of treatment mechanism, where
Hmm.
he would forget what happened to him when he was 10-year old or 10 years and younger. And so that was the other part that I found, like, I feel like in two ways that could be good and bad. Like, what if we did forget our traumas? What if we forgot the things that happened to us, and so we didn't have, I guess we wouldn't have trauma because we wouldn't remember it,
You wouldn't
right?
remember it. Hmm.
Or at least not psychologically. But what if you don't remember, then it can happen again, which is obviously what happened
That
here.
is true.
So our traumas, do you think that they keep us safe, or do you think they keep us stuck?
I don't necessarily think, okay, let me say this. Sometimes trauma, it can make you stuck. It can, depending on where your mindset is. But I do believe, I feel like we need to remember. I mean, because our body, like our nervous system, you're not going to forget. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you need to remember. You need to know. So then you know not to hang with Slater King, or you don't need to you know how to move differently next time. That builds your I feel like your trauma builds your common sense, your backbone. I do feel like your trauma can help you be aware of things that you weren't necessarily aware of before the trauma happened, even though it can be jacked up, whatever the trauma looks like for you. But I do feel like it can also save you. I do.
I think that only if you know how to process the trauma.
Yeah, once you
Y-
learn how to,
It's
and
like a
once you heal from it.
superpower. You have to learn how to,
Yeah.
because I think trauma in and of itself, the word trauma, I don't think there's anything good about it, but I think there it can be used for your good. Like if you go
Yeah.
through an assault, then you can use that as a tool to help other people that have
Yeah.
gone through things or prevent them from going through things. So
Yeah, that's
you can use it as a superpower. But I
yeah.
think in and of itself, if it never happened, would it make your life better? If you never remembered that it happened, I should say, if you don't remember it happening, would that be so? And I guess I mean that's a question for anyone to answer if they
Yeah,
haven't thought
like, I
about that. But
mean,
that's what I thought about when he said that
you're
forgetting is a
oblivious.
gift.
Yeah.
Forgetting, because there are some things that I wish I could forget. I mean, I can tell you off the top of my head what they are, but if I thought about some things, I feel like I would be okay with forgetting that happened,
I mean, yeah,
because
I get that.
I would never. Maybe you would, if you could forget that people said certain hurtful things to
I
you,
can
that
yes.
you would be more. You maybe not have certain insecurities. Like maybe if you never heard someone tell you, "Oh, you're not a good singer," you wouldn't feel that insecurity about singing because no one ever told you that, or someone told you, "Oh, you're not." Oh, if you don't remember, someone told you that you were fat or whatever, you probably would never even have that insecurity about it in the same way. You may still have some type of complex about it, maybe not, because you never were told that you were fat or undesirable or whatever you want to, however it shows up for you. I think it does have different.
It's like a slippery slope. Like you can, like
So
you
yeah.
said, we were saying, like you can use trauma for your benefit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, we don't want trauma to ever happen, but realistically speaking, living in this plane, we're going to experience trauma either way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's all in what in how you react and what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is what I'm saying. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any knowledge of it, then it won't affect you because you don't have any knowledge of it.
And
You
that's
just don't.
where it gets to the, is that actually a good thing to not remember trauma? Because I think that's why we go to
That's
therapy,
what I
right?
was
Because
saying.
we want to deal with our traumas and be able to
Right.
move past them. But what if you just don't have what if you could go to therapy and literally forget that it ever existed?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Especially if it haunts you. There's things that people go through
Now,
as
so
children that haunts them,
absolutely, even as
like,
adults. Yeah,
so it's like maybe that could be a good thing if you,
maybe.
in the right context, I guess.
I feel like if there was a way that we could, like, if trauma happens, we are aware of it, we see it, we know it, we feel it, we heal our nervous system. And then they ask us, hey, like, would you like to permanently forget your trauma? Then I'm like, okay, yeah, let's just permanently forget it. Then I'm like, okay, that's a different route because it's not like you not aware that it didn't happen. You're not being gaslit or controlled that it did not happen, but it's like you have the consent that like, hey, we can make this disappear, but we're talking to you about it. So it's not like no one just being sneaky about it. We're letting you know you work through it, you want to move forward, and you did all that you could do. Now let's move forward. That's how I'm looking at it. Yeah, that's
And then maybe if you didn't remember the traumas, you would be able to relate to other people. So you would miss that component of empathy to share with
that
other people
compassion.
because you
That's
don't
true.
have that experience. Like people that are, like we talk about, like with the power dynamics, people that are super wealthy, they oftentimes have a hard time relating to people that don't have the same tax bracket as them. And so they are insensitive or desensitized to the suffering of other people because maybe they come from old money and they never really had a life where they didn't have means. So a lot of different ways we can go. I forgot where we were.
Yep. Me too, Lord Jesus. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we get to the room. All right, so okay. Sarah and Frida, they are aware. So they do like a setup. Basically, what they planned was for Sarah to go out there, do what she does, live it up, but she also brings the venom mixed with the alcohol to the girlies so they can drink it and they can also remember and awaken, right? And so the plan was for Frida to go to this hut, whatever room this was, that Slater King's room. She goes and she finds basically photos of her from the previous year. And she's like, oh shit, like I was here before, and not to mention the photos came from one of the guys, his people that was there, because he was always snapping, taking pictures of her and the people that was there. And so,
The photographer.
the photographer. Yeah. But was he something else though?
He could have been, but in my notes I have him as a photographer. That was
facts. Yeah. And so then of course I didn't even mention this too. Frida and Sarah, they had like a code word, like a word to use when Slater is about to walk into his room.
Big fat blunt.
Yeah, the big fat blunt. But she was so busy trying to get into these areas where she can find the photos that she didn't really hear it until like the fourth time of Sarah yelling it. And so, anywho, she finds the pictures. Slater King walks into the room, and there was a moment where all of us thought that Slater King finds Frida because she hides underneath his desk. And so, really, he was just there to talk about, or he was talking about his little free little red chair that was there. That was it. And so, Quez, I feel like I'm missing something. What else happens after that?
That's the main key component. So basically, just and moving past that just a little bit. Yeah. So basically, they are now. I think at this point she was still trying to find Jess, or what happened to Jess, right? Or at some point trying to get some type of evidence. And so throughout these next few sequences, she gets these flashbacks as you see her memory is starting to come back. And so she gets a memory of so just disclaimer, and we'll put that in the beginning. You saw if you got into this part about the disclaimer, the trigger warning, that they go through a lot of sexual violence and they were being raped and assaulted. And so she realizes during one of the incidents that they killed Jess because she did not remember, because she remembered what happened. She started to remember. And so they realized that because of the snake bite and everything, that she had been, I don't know if they knew it was a snake bite, but they knew that she was no longer under that trance that they had her in.
Yeah. Damn. Which we can go ahead and get into it then, because now we're going into the dinner, the last dinner, right? They go wearing white, the last supper. They're wearing all white. And of course, Sarah and Frida, they're trying to keep their composure. And while they're eating and Kiki and whatever, sounds are triggering Frida, the clinking, the laughter, the bottles, bottle popping, the memories just flood back, right? And so what got me is when, Slater and the photographer, no, the therapist, they had, Slater mentioned, he was like, the worse the trauma is, the more they forget. So that part really got to me. I was like, damn, so that you're really torturing these people, the women, so they can forget that this ever happened. That's crazy.
I had a
That's
thought,
crazy.
and maybe this will be too easy for it to be the reality, but I was just wondering why didn't they, if they wanted to be with them, why didn't they just ask like healthy people to ask them out and want to date
That's
them,
too
whatever? Like
easy.
why did they have to take it? Why did they have to be violent about it?
Because I feel like that's too easy. And which I feel like, okay, I honestly feel like um Slater's therapist was his handler. I do feel like that. We're gonna get into that in a little bit because he
Mhm,
was also controlled as well. But that's the thing. It's just something about for rich people or rich men, it's the power, it's because they've always been doing nasty stuff like that. It's the control of
mhm,
it all. Like they like to control, that's their power.
mhm,
You do things because I want you to do it. People doing things that they don't remember. Like you said, we bring it up the Diddy situation again,
mhm,
you know.
mhm.
So I do believe it was all about the control factor. That's it. Because he was already a billionaire. They already had the money. It's not like they needed more money. It's just they can do whatever they want with you, dispose of you, and then that's it.
And I think it makes me wonder too, like, do you get bored with the money? Is the money, even though you work so much to get to that pinnacle of wealth or rich or whatever you deem to be rich, and once you get there, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. So you are morally bankrupt because you don't have you still don't have enough.
Morally bankrupt.
You have the riches, but you don't have there's something you're still craving that's not satisfying. It's not satisfying the itch.
That's why people do
It's
what they do. Yep.
so it's just,
Mhm.
it makes me wonder, like, why, like, you could do so many good things with your power and influence, but you choose to harm people.
Yep.
Is that from, do you believe that there are really evil people, or
Hell
just broken,
yeah.
or they're just acting out of brokenness?
I
Which do you
believe
think?
that there are some people here in this realm and on this planet that were created to be inverted. I feel like it has to be a balance. There are people in this world who are they were made to be evil. Just like there are people that are good, there are people out here who are made to do what they do.
But do you think that comes from brokenness? Do you think
Not
that they were
not all
born
the time.
evil?
I do not. I do believe some people are born evil. Some people
Really?
are broken, and that's how you get the villain. Like you look at the Disney characters. You look at the Disney characters, they usually turn into a villain because they were misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? They were misunderstood, something happened, they're like, "You know what? I'm just gonna turn evil. You know what? Fuck, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. This is I feel some type of way. I am hurt, I'm in pain. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing." And so I do believe that there are people here that were created to be evil. Yes. That's my answer.
Mm.
Mhm. There's a difference between someone being born evil than someone being born and they were just broken, like life life happened and they don't know how to heal from the trauma. And so they react and they act out in ways that's like not favorable for
Well, I
themselves
think
or
we also have to look at some of the characteristics of these people, like we talk about here with like the Slater King, or if you want to bring it to the reality, like a Diddy or a whoever, a Epstein or a Jim Jones type of person. They have the charisma, they are influential, they have a lot of access to different people, networks, communities, things like that.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I, and I grapple with this. That's why I asked you, do you believe that there are inherently evil people that are just, I've never heard anyone say that they just believe that people are born evil.
I do.
I usually think it just comes from a broken place in their life. But the way you describe it, actually, it sounds like there's almost like it can be a mental, you know, ailment that causes them to be evil.
I'm not gonna say men. Well, it okay. So you know me, Quez. I go into the spiritual aspect of it. I believe that everybody that you see with a flesh, they're not. human. We're not really human. We just have a meat suit. We're from somewhere else. This is just my belief system, right? This is my beliefs. So just like we have the creator of all there is, the creator also has another side to it. Whatever you want to say, he or she, doesn't matter. I do believe that the creator created what we would call the devil because and I do believe the devil created, just like there are demons, there are some people who are here to cause lower vibrational things to happen, because this is why I feel like things are happening to people or in the world is because it has to be a balance. Like if everything was just perfect and rainbows and what you call it, unicorns running around with glitter sparkle, then what would be the point of us being human and coming to the earth and living out this lesson or lessons or this experience? What's the point? Then we wouldn't really be here. So I do feel like there are people who are born. Everybody are not born into the
So
light. Like
are you
everybody is not
saying that the
angelic.
good are you saying that the purpose of being here would be to counteract the evil? Is that what you're saying?
For some people, their missions, yes. Their mission is to bring in good, to awaken the souls, to live out your missions. For some people, is to bring in the invertedness, to bring in, the trauma, because it's all a contract. It's a contract. Just
That
like,
makes me feel kind of, I don't know, it's like chills, just like thinking like that. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm not here to say you're wrong or anything. 'Cause I don't know,
yeah. I
but
mean,
I just
you can have
wonder,
some
like,
people who think what I'm saying is bullshit, which is fine. I don't give a fuck, but that's just my beliefs. And people can think what they will,
mm,
but it makes sense to me, because why is it that this is happening? Because how we cry like, oh my God, why is this happening? Because it was supposed to happen. Because do you not understand that, for example, when someone passes, I'm gonna just use my nephew passing 2 years ago. I feel like he was, what's the word I'm looking for, Quez? He was it caused a riffle effect when people pass. It's like, oh shit, yo,
mhm,
that's close. I
mhm.
believe, let me go ahead and jump on the body positive goddess, because tomorrow is not promised to me. I need to hurry up and
Mhm.
get on my shit. I do feel like things like that happen for a reason. That's just how I think. That's just an
Oh, I see what you're
example.
saying. So
You see
you're
what I'm
saying you feel
saying?
like certain by him passing, it kind of helped
It kind
you
of
put a fire under
pushed a
you
fire
to
under my
like,
ass to be like,
mm,
yeah, tomorrow. And then he was so young. You know what I'm
but
saying?
but see, then my question to that would be, why does it have to be some, essentially what you're saying is someone has to be sacrificed. So, but I would
Not
be
all
like,
the
well, why?
time, no. I'm not
Well,
gonna
no, not
say.
always, but I'm saying in that instance, he was sacrificed so that you could, based on how
I
you
see what you're
described
saying.
it,
I see what you're
he
saying.
was so you could be able to pursue your other things. But I would wonder, who is the one programming everything? Where's all that? Who's running the show to make all that happen?
Mm.
And why
That's
would that have to be the case if we are all created
mhm.
in an image that we are all? I believe that we all are equally as valuable and worthy. I do believe
Absolutely.
that.
Whether good or bad.
But
You
it
know
would
what I'm
make me
saying?
wonder, how do we choose? It's like a lottery. How do we choose who's going to be the sacrificial lamb to be slaughtered in the name of whatever the
Okay.
case is?
Just like they say that Jesus, he was a sacrifice, right? I feel like all of this was planned in the spirit realm before we even came into the physical.
Mm,
I feel like this life that we're living, I really do believe, like we talked about before, it's more like it's the matrix. It's a simulation. Like this is not really real. Like it's real, but the spiritual realm is more real than the physical. And so I believe that we in the spirit realm, we talk about things like, hey, Raquez, you're gonna be one of my best friends. You're gonna be my brother. You're gonna help me, with the body parts of goddess. I'm gonna help you with blah blah blah. We're gonna come up with the Rated Reflections podcast. This is what's going to happen in my life. I'm going to have to separate. You're going to get on my nerves. I'm going to get on your damn nerves. We're going to separate. We're not talking no more. You got to go out, do blue, blue, blue. I'm just going to throw some bullshit out here. My daddy ain't here. He ran out, slept with another woman. Like I feel like everybody is playing how we watch a movie. I feel like it's like a movie. We all sit, we all have, we're casting our movie and we're living our lives exactly how we need to live. That's why when bad things happen to us, it's traumatic to us at that moment, but we also get, for some of us, some people, you can choose, you have free will at the end of the day, even if it was destined, you have free will. You can choose to do what you want to do with your life, but the people that hurt you are really your lessons, or what you'll say, like the devil or demons, they are here not, and this is just me speaking, you believe what you believe, but they can help you grow in ways I wish if nothing bad happened, you would just be stagnant, if that makes sense.
I get where you're coming from, but
Yeah.
if it truly, I mean, I'm not here to say, like I said, if that is the case or not, but
That's just
if that is the case, let's say that is
Yeah.
the case, then I would need to have a conversation with the director and the writer of this film, because there are some things I need to be explained. Because even from a standpoint of just thinking about, like I said, this film brought up a lot of things for me that I think about as far as like, especially with like consent. And I was actually, before tonight's show, I was listening to a very disturbing story about a pastor that was harming little girls, and he had been doing this for some time now. And so if based on what you're just saying, what you explained, actually, you're saying that was supposed to happen to them. They were supposed to go through that.
So because it goes deeper than what we it's deeper than what we can or like just a regular person can really think about, right? So there may be some things in your past life that you've done. Some things are karmic. If you believe in karma, then okay. If not, then okay. But some things your soul has to experience or need to experience, or you want to experience, because it's a lesson there. And we don't know, even though it's as effed up as it may sound, and it could be, it may be a karmic lesson for some, or some people, they're like, no, they're not meant to, because some kids, they even die young. Some of those souls may just want to leave early, but sometimes they leave prematurely. But it's always something bigger. It's not just like we talked about earlier. It's not just what it seems like. It's not just what we see. It's always something working in the background.
I mean, yeah, that's very easy to say in hindsight. I think anyone can say, "Oh, well, that worked out," or how that worked the way it was supposed to. But when we're talking specifically about things like that, since we were talking about trauma, I do think that that's not easy to hear someone say, "Oh, well, that's
I'm not
just."
gonna say it's good. It was good, because
well, no, I know that. I'm just saying, like in real time, that's painful. So that's
it's
not
very
gonna. You don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear someone say,
you do
"Well, there was
not.
something that happened in a past life that caused that." Like I don't. I would take you out of my face. I don't want to hear you say that.
Absolutely, you're going to, because you're gonna be looking at me like, "Bitch, what are you talking about?"
You're right.
Like,
so it's like
yeah.
But I do think sometimes, and I think what you're describing, and I can say from like just what I grew up in church and everything. People would say things like, "Oh, well, God's will, God's plan, all these things." But I feel like what you're saying is the opposite of, it's like kind of the same thing, but in an opposite direction. And so for me, both sound like we're both trying to make sense of things we don't know for sure. And I think that can also be traumatic, I feel like, because you now enter in a space of you are speculating on what could be the situation, but we don't really know. Like no one really has a guide as to what really is happening here. And I think sometimes when we try to make sense of things, we make more of a mess, because now we're trying to make things make sense that don't really make sense. Like you can't explain how you can have for 400 years a group of people based on their color or their skin go through slavery. And to say, oh, with all these 400 years, all these people, they did something wrong to cause that to themselves? Is that what you really want to say?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to you directly. I'm just
No,
saying
I
to
get
the
what you're
whole,
saying.
to the thought. So I think sometimes when
Yeah.
we try to make things sound like, oh, we have a bow and wrap it up, put a bow on it. That's how that happened. Here you go. I'm like, well, that now you have to explain the other things, or like when you have a lot of people, all the people that went through like the Holocaust and things, like all of those people, babies that didn't even hurt nobody. It's like, how does that make sense? They haven't even had the chance to even hurt anyone, but they, so I don't know. It makes me think. I think sometimes, like you said, we are in the matrix. It does feel like that, because it's like, what's the purpose of all this?
Right.
You work hard to get money, do all these things. You go through life, you die. What are you really trying to achieve if it's not to help somebody else?
People have their own walk, and it may look different to some.
But then to support what you're saying, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
you say you believe that some people are inherently inverted and they are evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's their will. That's their not will. That's their plight in life.
Mm-hmm.
That explains certain things, like how can you go into a movie theater and
And do
off
certain things.
people? How can you go into a school? How can you go to a church? How can you drive your car into a group of people celebrating the New Year?
Yeah.
Like, so when you say things like that, oh yeah, I can see how that people can be born evil.
Yes.
Because I don't know if brokenness is going to be enough to say that that's why you did that, because somebody broke your heart.
I feel like it will have to happen so many times that you just become numb. Because after one time, it's like, oh shit, you gonna hurt. It hurt. But then after it happens several different times, it's like, okay, fuck it. Fuck everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm about to go on to the on the bad side, and we about to do what we need to do. I can't take this shit anymore. If you don't give a fuck about me, I don't give a fuck about you or your mama or your baby, and I'm gonna go ahead and do. There's people that think like that. So I'm
But
saying
are those people evil though? Are they evil because can you
I'm not
turn
gonna
evil?
say I'm not gonna say those people I'm not gonna say they're evil, but they are choosing to do evil things. They're choosing to do that because go ahead.
So let me ask you this: the same way people are born evil, do you think that they can do good things and still be evil at heart?
Some people can do. I mean, the most wickedest person can do good shit. That still don't take away the fact that you're not an evil person.
But see, that's when I have to push back and say, well, how do you separate what you do from who you are? Because I was always under the impression and taught and believe you are not what you do. You are not what you do. You are who you are.
I mean, do you really do you really know? Do you really know?
Or maybe you are you are what's inside of you. So if you are good inside, then goodness comes out. If you
Goodness can
are
come
bad
out.
inside.
But Quez, think about it. You can be good. How many people have sat in a church, called themselves good, right? They're doing good things, mission work, all of that. They go feed the homeless. They do all these good things. Those are good things. But behind closed doors, they're doing all their PDFs. You know what I'm saying? They're doing all the evil shit. That's what they want you to see. You really don't know what people do behind closed doors unless you're a part of what they do. That's why we got the Diddy situation. He signed NDAs and shit. He up here got videos blackmailing people. That's why people MIA not talking, because they know they did some
Allegedly.
fucked up shit. Allegedly. Excuse me. You're right. Because we ain't got no money to give y'all motherfucking asses. So we
Well,
just
I
say
got money, honey. I don't know
I'm
about
not
I got
giving you
money,
$1 million.
sweetie.
I'm not giving you $1 million. Allegedly, you're right. I'm not doing it. But Do you really
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
really know?
Yeah. I mean, I love this type of conversation. I think it's not even about having an answer. It's about just, I think the
Having
more you talk it out, the more conversation
you're,
comes from it to
you're
look at different
reflecting.
perspectives and
Yep.
reflect on it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, but back to the film. So, they're at the Last Supper,
Mm-hmm.
and now Slater is starting to get a little whiff of that something is off,
Mm-hmm.
because he even says to Frida, "You don't smell the same."
The same. Yeah.
She's no
Mm-hmm.
longer using the perfume.
Mm-mm.
And so we're gonna move a little move faster a little bit, but
Yeah.
eventually what happens is the ladies, not everybody, all of the ladies, all five, well, now all four of the ladies, they are no longer under the trance.
That's right.
And so they rebel and they
Yep.
go off. They remember the traumatic things,
Everything.
and we get glimpses of the scenes of things that have occurred.
Yeah.
And from there, we see how just the revolt, they rebel and they take their power back. They One of the ladies, she stabs a guy and unalives him in the pool. And so from here, this is where it's like, okay, now they're finally waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're rooting for them, you're cheering them on. And so now you get to this scene where now Slater King is getting a taste of his own medicine, and at some point,
Absolutely.
Frida, she laces his vape with the same perfume that he used on her, and
Mm-hmm.
he's now in a space of he's no longer remembering things.
Yeah.
And so we get to. Was there anything else before we get to the end that you wanted to talk about with that part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Good to
then
go.
we get to the end of the film where they're now at that same gala. And now Slater King is, everyone else is gone except for the therapist. He's the only one that is still alive. And the therapist sees Slater King at this gala. I guess it's a year later, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And Slater King has no recollection of anything.
No.
And now it's not only Slater King, but it's Mrs. King, Mrs. Frida King. And she is now the CEO of this company. And she grew her hair out because she was
Mm-hmm.
rocking a pixie at first,
Uh-huh.
and got a red lipstick on, and she is got her little bottle
Mm-hmm.
to keep him under that spell. And the therapist, he's kind of confused because he doesn't really realize that Slater doesn't even know who he is anymore. He's like, "Can we have that kind of discussion?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Wait, what? But do you think this is really liberation or just survival inside of a corrupted system? Like, do you think, I mean, I know she's like karma bitch, but do you think she's like surviving basically?
I think it goes back to what we just discussed with
Mm-hmm.
Eve. The intentions, I think it's more so about the intentions of good versus evil,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm under the belief, I don't believe that people are born evil. I don't believe that. I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that evil and goodness are subjective. I think
Okay.
there are some things that are objectively evil, obviously, but I
Obviously.
think there are some things that can be good for some people and not good for other people. So I think that could be
Okay.
subjective.
Yes.
But what I will say in this sense, she was taking her power back, but it was misguided. So she took her power back to use for her own gratification. And
Mm-hmm.
that to me is the key component here, because
Mm-hmm.
not only was she freeing herself, she now was also inadvertently imprisoning him
Yeah.
and oppressing him, even though it was, some may say, justifiably so.
Well, justifiable. Yes, for sure.
But it's still, instead of her taking that power and maybe starting like a program for women who have been abused and things, and maybe she did have it, I don't know, but we didn't see that
Free
part
will.
in
Yeah,
the
we didn't
film.
see it.
But based on what we saw in the film, she was just using it for her own sense
Yeah.
of happiness or joy or whatever. So I think I don't think that was a healthy way to cycle that. I think if anything, she became the oppressor. The
Yeah.
oppressed becomes the oppressor. And I think it's interesting because even like with with Black people, we have been oppressed for so long. We are oppressed for so long, things like that. But I don't even think that we are the type to be vindictive in that way, to want to oppress the oppressors. Not at least not
Mhm.
as a collective. Maybe there might be
Right,
some
right,
anomalies in there,
right.
but as a collective, I don't feel like we would want to seek out that revenge or any group that's been oppressed. You know, you
Yeah.
can put any group that's been oppressed in that category.
So, Quest, can you do something for me real quick?
What's up?
If you can, if not, don't worry about it. But can you look up MK Ultra
MK Ultra.
uh-huh,
Let's see.
on Google
Okay. Yep, I got
for
you.
me real quick? Okay.
hmm So MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program designed by the U.S. Central.
Basically, when I was looking at the movie, I was like, his therapist was his handler. His therapist was the person to control him, if you look at it.
Mm. So where did he come from then? That's what my question will
That's
be. Where did the therapist come from?
that's the thing. I mean, he's a billionaire too. And
Mhm.
so where the money is, I do feel like the elite, they have people to
Don't they
come
say follow?
in.
Don't they say follow the money?
Yeah, they have people to come in, powerful people to come in to kind of manipulate things, if you will. Yeah, just keep an eye on things, try to befriend you. They're not really your people. They're really just there to control you, mind fuck you a little bit, call themselves your doctor and your therapist, but they're really controlling the shit out of you. Because remember,
Mm.
he was how did he get started on a drug? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
He
I
was
see. So you're.
also yes,
Oh, so I see. You're saying that he. So you're saying in a way, Slater King was also oppressed
he was.
by. Okay.
He was because remember, Frida put it in his vape because he will always smoke the vape. She put
Well, no, yes,
the
that part. But
venom.
I'm saying you're saying that even before her, he was oppressed by the
He was
therapist.
oppressed. He couldn't remember shit.
Mm. Now I'm looking here and I'm seeing how it's saying that they would, and maybe I hope I'm understanding this correctly. It's kind of like when they say, like back in I think it was the 80s with the crack epidemic,
Hmm.
where they would say that they would say certain allegedly
Allegedly.
government places or whatever people, there was
Hmm.
something outside of the community setting up these 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 drugs
Hmm.
for underserved communities, primarily like the Black community, to get them addicted and then imprison them and all these things to oppress them. And so it was set up by outside higher source. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
Causing the brokenness in the community. Is
Mhm.
that like the same similar
Similar, yeah.
concept? Yeah.
Similar, yeah.
Interesting.
And I do feel like what this movie is saying too, that survival doesn't always look heroic. Because it really wasn't she did do we even see Sarah again? Was she at the table?
We
At the
don't.
end?
And
You
that's
don't see
yeah, that's the
Sarah
thing. We
again.
don't, like that's what I was saying. I don't know if she just like parted ways with her, if she even
Yeah.
took it all for herself. We don't know.
We don't know. But
And
sometimes survivors don't
yeah.
always look like that. You know, she did the best that she could with what she did. She felt like in her mind it was only right to get him back. And that's what she did. And sometimes in some situations, not all, I do feel like wealth does shield abusers.
Wealth
Again,
does shield abusers. Yeah,
yeah,
of course. They
just
have
like with
power to protect themselves and cover the tracks. Yeah, sure.
yeah,
That's not hard to believe.
that's not. It happens
Mm-mm.
every day.
But even with Frida, it now makes me wonder. She probably wasn't as innocent. Remember what I said? You will be seduced by what you're seduced with. So, she wanted that. She aspired to that life of grandeur.
Mhm.
So maybe there was something in her that resonated with that,
Mm.
and she had the mentality of by any means necessary. So it makes you
What
almost
had to
think, is she really a victim? Because she's willing to do the same thing to other people just as much as she wanted it for her. You know what I'm saying? As it was done to her for her own gain.
What
So
was she saying in the middle of the movie when her and Slater was talking and he was saying something about he's doing therapy and she was saying something like, yeah, like I don't really therapy don't work. Basically saying something like that. She was like, yeah, I saw
basically,
my
she was denouncing it and saying,
yeah,
I'm a pace. Yeah, she was definitely not on the side of therapy, is what it
right.
came across as. So
With her
yeah, she was
attitude.
not. Yeah, and like I said, I didn't really. It was hard for me to have a lot of sympathy for her, especially
Mhm.
early on. 'Cause I tell you, she really irritated me because she was being very foolish with her decisions. And even going throughout the film, I didn't really find myself having a lot of sympathy until like I saw what was happening with her, like the abuse and
Mhm.
things. But at the very end, I think for some people it would have been like, "Oh yeah, girl, do that. You did that." You know. So I guess it just depends. She's a black woman, and she was being oppressed by a white man. So I think in those ways you want to cheer for her. But I would wonder, what is she doing with the other women that were with her? Or is she also helping to open up the gateways, or is she just being the gatekeeper
The world will
and
never know
and
unless they
not
came out with
allowing
a part
them,
two.
unless they count the part two?
That
Yeah,
would be interesting.
it will be interesting. And then maybe
But
she
some of
does it to
those
men, and then maybe
I was
people
just
will
about to
feel
say
more.
that.
Yeah.
I was about to say that, but for some of those people, they are the victim at first, and then they become the abuser.
Hmm.
'Cause it's like it's a whole cycle. You know what I'm saying? Like some
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
they do
So
that.
it goes back to that conversation about good versus evil, and I think that
Mhm.
that's going to be a very like controversial
Yeah.
aspect of this conversation. I did want to touch on one more thing,
Mhm.
and that was just the concept of consent. You
Yeah.
know, and when is consent revocable? When is it? All those things, and particularly with this because even things like if someone is asleep and you want to
Oh, yeah.
wake them up to get it on or whatever, that's still, if they're not awake to consent, then it's not. They could be your partner, they could be your husband, your wife, your spouse, but if they're not in a willing mindset to say yes, I want this, then it's not consent, even if you've been married for 30 years.
Mhm.
Or drinking, if you're drinking with someone and they are in their drunken state of mind and
Mhm.
they're looking like they want to do something,
And
but
taking
they're not,
advantage.
you're taking advantage of them.
Mhm.
So it really, this film really raised those flags for me even more about what consent looks like. Even myself as a photographer,
Mhm.
if I'm doing a shoot with a client, I'll still ask them, is it okay if I adjust your hair?
Mhm.
Is it okay if I touch you here?
Y'all, he will do that. He will do that.
Because I want to make sure that I am not stepping
Stepping
over the boundary,
yeah,
or using myself as someone that has the right
it's
to
the right
touch you
touch.
in a way that doesn't,
Right.
you know. So I think, and also as much as you can give consent, you can revoke it.
Yes, you can.
You could be mid-stroke. No, this doesn't feel right. I'm done.
Talk about it. Mhm.
No, let me just finish. I'm almost done. No, this doesn't feel right.
That's
I'm done.
real. That's real.
And I think, but
Mhm.
that's not necessarily. Some people say no means yes, or you have to try to work to get that yes. But then you get into other things now at that point, because I've already given you a no, but you're not taking the no for what it is. So a lot of things for me with this film.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, with Ashley, why did you choose this film in particular? Why did this resonate with you?
Well, I could say one of the reasons why I chose this film because to me it was very similar to what's going on with Diddy. And I feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had.
Mhm.
Because people feel like everything is everything, but no, ma'am. You need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to be aware with who you let into your circle, in your home, around your kids, around yourself, and being able to trust your intuition.
Mhm.
build that muscle.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And this is why we're here.
Yeah.
For people who have been SA, speak your truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's this is not the time to hold that shit in. This podcast is also about healing. Let that shit go. Speak about it. Snitch on that motherfucker. Tell if anybody did anything to you, tell shit. That's gonna help you heal a lot. Let that shit go. Go to a therapist. Raquez and I, we both seek. We have a therapist, babe, because it has
Yes.
helped us.
And I will say this too, though, because I think sometimes I feel like we use that word like go to a therapist as like just go to anybody. No,
No,
you
no,
still have
no,
to use
no.
your
Not
intuition
that.
with that too, because
Absolutely.
I have met therapists
Mhm.
where they have joked about things that I've shared with them, and
You on
they've
that.
joked about it in a way where they try to relate it to themselves and to make light of it. And I don't think that's appropriate.
I
So
feel
I
that.
will say, still vet the person. You can't trust any
Mhm.
other human being besides yourself. You can't
Yep.
trust anybody besides yourself
Yep.
at first glance. You have to vet them first. That's what I meant to
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
So yes, you get a therapist, but
Yep.
don't just think that you're in a safe space always because you have a
True.
therapist. Because you can
That's
have a
true.
doctor that can perform malpractice. Just because they are
Mhm.
a doctor does not mean that they are qualified to treat
Yep.
you. So
Yep. That's
there
real,
are two
Queen.
sides to the coin, two sides to
Oh,
it. But
it's
yeah,
always.
yeah. But
Always.
that's not to say, oh, see, that's why I don't go to therapists. No, still do your research. Don't use that as an
Mhm.
excuse.
Because we hear it a lot. We
Yeah.
hear it a lot. Yeah.
hmm
Yep.
But just be cautious. Just be
Yep.
cautious. Do your homework.
Mhm.
So, and on that note, did you have anything else to add about this film? Thank you for introducing
Oh,
me
that's
to this,
it.
because
Of
this is like
course. Of
stepping me
course.
out. This was very different. I was like, oh, this is a
Yes.
different type of. What I do appreciate about the film, it didn't have a lot of graphic stuff in it, so that was good.
Thank
Like I
God for
appreciate
that.
that
They
because
kept
I
that
was
real
like,
short.
I
Mhm.
was the trigger warning. I feel like I'm glad they added it, but I don't feel like it was as bad as,
It
at
was
least to
needed.
me,
Okay.
that as what they were making it seem to be.
Guess it could have been more darker. You're right. It could have
Yeah,
been more graphic. You are absolutely
yeah,
right. Yep.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you all for tuning in to another episode of Rated Reflections. Please drop
Yes.
all of your comments. Anything that we discussed tonight, today, this morning, whenever you're watching, that really stuck and resonated with you. Any questions, anything that you want to push back on, we invite it, because I think that fosters conversation, it fosters community, and it just makes things even more broader. I think the best thing we can always do is have an open mind to hear
Yeah.
other perspectives. You don't always have to agree, but having that will to understand and listen to other people, I think
Mhm.
that offers you a plethora of knowledge to become even wide range and well-rounded human being.
Yeah.
So I
In other
think it's
words,
important.
keep it cute in the comments. That's it.
There you
Don't be
go. That part.
disrespectful.
That
Don't
part.
be disrespectful. Okay.
On that note, we appreciate y'all, and
Yes.
we will see you next time.
And make sure
Bye.
y'all like, comment,
Oh
and
yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for that.
subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.